is a bit more of trying to anticipate the concerns that could arise if machine learning and AI is used more. So obviously that last example of the Facebook bots developing their own language was a source of concern for the engineers. And so we want to understand again what might go wrong with this trend in business, because there's some very uh, good aspects to it, but there's some bad ones as well. So you have sort of in Star Wars, lots of drones, but it wasn't really close to real life. Now there are more and more uh, examples of robots and artificial intelligence in our day-to-day lives, and people are much more concerned. So, as a recent example of things changing, sci-fi situations becoming a little more uh, realistic. In Los Angeles, Elon Musk was using self-driving cars and a tunnel underneath the city to create a fast way to commute. It was called the Boring Company.
This is the entrance to Elon Musk's high-speed loop tunnel. Now, this is a modified Model X. They were giving demonstration rides today. Look at these alignment wheels down here on the front. They're attached to the two front wheels on the Model X. They run along track walls inside the tunnel. That keeps the Model X on course. What's it like to go for a ride through the high-speed loop tunnel? Let's give you a peek. After the Model X is lowered 45 feet and slowly rolls into the tunnel, the driver accelerates quickly, eventually hitting almost 50 miles per hour. The row of lights on the ceiling are blue in the middle, then red or green at the ends of the tunnel, indicating drivers are clear to speed up or should slow down. It's a thrill when you're inside the tunnel, but this is certainly not close to the 150 miles per hour that Elon Musk envisions for the high-speed loop tunnel. As they take these people in for a demonstration ride, we should point out that this track is only a little over a mile long. During that ride, it will be bumpy. You will feel the alignment wheels bumping into the side track walls. And at the other side, they will emerge, rise 45 feet to the surface after driving through the tunnel, probably in a little more than 35 or 40 seconds.
So the idea is that tunnel was done manually, but the idea is it's going to lead to an expansion throughout LA of these self-driving cars traveling at high speeds under the city, and that's someone trying to use AI in a unanticipated way to create a new innovation. So there are more Americans, and we can use that as a proxy for Canadians because they tend to be surveyed more and on many instances have similar beliefs. So they are reluctant to use AI than willing to use it. So they would not, at the moment, there's not enough adoption of people who would ride in a driverless vehicle, use, for example, uh, use a robot to help take care of an older family member, or apply for a job knowing that their resume would be screened by a AI program looking for keywords if they knew. Unfortunately, the way it is, a lot of resumes are parsed by machines at the moment. So what could this cause? This could cause job loss. Uh, so routine jobs will be automated. That person at Lowe's who circulates and restocks the shelf, that's no longer going to exist. Somebody who's a contractor and does home repair, that job is non-routine, that would still exist, but the other ones will you can see how routine jobs, even routine cognitive jobs, like a cognitive job would be an actuary. Someone applies for insurance, you decide whether or not to accept them, you decide what the rate should be, and you either give them the insurance or deny it. Well, that can be replaced. You can see how those routine jobs, those routine sort of labor jobs, can be are, are not growing. It's actually the non-routine jobs, ones that require special technical skills, non-routine manual, or special thinking, non-routine cognitive. Those are the ones that are on the rise. So uh, that's a concern. If machines are doing everything and people are unemployed and suffering, that might be a bit dystopian for some. Well, self-driving cars could double the profit margin of the taxi industry. It could be about $300 billion in revenue. However, what about the taxi drivers? They would be out of work. Uh, 1 million transportation jobs could be lost by self-driving cars. Here's on the right-hand side how the self-driving car works. It needs to have radar to detect the cars around it, sensors where it is. It has a sensor on the top. Uh, it has a speaker in case there's an emergency vehicle coming. It has video cameras, and it all has to take all those inputs together and process it and make the right driving decision. But if it becomes viable in Canada, that could 1 million truck drivers or bus drivers or taxi drivers or delivery drivers could lose their jobs. Uh, People worry about social manipulation. That is, that marketing that knows you a little bit more than you might even know yourself. That it understands what ads you've clicked on in the past, and it sends you more of those ads. It understands what you've liked, and it sends you more of those ads. And you can see that it's currently being used by about 2/3 of marketing companies, and then the rest, another 20-25% plan to use it. So it's going to be used even more. So for example, listening to what people are saying on social media and responding to it, uh, sending those people targeted marketing. Automating marketing based on, well, the when you order on Amazon and it says people who bought this also enjoyed this product. That type of automation. Managing consumers, chatting with them, classifying them and making decisions. It can become a lot more, a lot more targeted. So, tracking people. So that this can be, it can start um, taking facial recognition software and recognize who's out in a certain part of town. But then, what if it saw them smoking? What if it saw? Would that be data then be sent to the insurance company and say, what if someone's eating a lot of junk food use? Would that be used to decline their treatment for heart disease? China can give each citizen a social credit scores, and how positively in their government's thoughts are they um, contributing to the country, and then that's used by financial companies. So here on the right hand side, the person's purchases can be matched to their identity. So it's a touchless way of paying, but then on the other hand, we would know what everyone's ever purchased, and that lack of anonymity could be concerning. What about kill switch? Should there be an emergency switch that can turn off AI?
Look close enough, and you'll see it's all around you, on your kitchen counter, under your feet, and in your hands. You see, advanced technology was part of your daily routine long before requesting this ride.
Yep, self-driving cars are coming to Canada. Uber is going to invest $200 million, creating a new artificial intelligence hub in Toronto. Driverless cars and delivery drones, they sound convenient, but there's a darker side to AI, the fear that robots could go rogue. And that has many asking, is it time to talk about a kill switch? What if AI gets too smart for us or becomes defiant? Remember how.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Aye. These days, it isn't just Hollywood obsessing about AI. Some of the big thinkers of our time are too.
I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
I do think we have to worry about it. I don't think it's inherent that as we create superintelligence that it will necessarily always have the same goals in mind that we do.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
Well, in 2016, Google started developing a kill switch, and the European Parliament is considering making it mandatory for artificial intelligence creators. So what about Canada? There's been a big push to become Silicon Valley North. The government put aside $125 million last year to develop artificial intelligence, but the Prime Minister says we have to find ways to do it right.
As we get thoughtful conversations around it, I think it's important that Canada and Canadians be part of shaping the way this revolution is happening.
But then it's not exactly clear how AI would be regulated or even which government department would be responsible for it. To help us make sense of all of this, we're joined by our tech contributor, Takara Small. Hi, Takara.
Hi.
So, how afraid should we be? Are computers about to go rogue?
Yes, there are concerns. We should be worried. And it's not because we should be worried about robots going rogue, but robots or AI in particular going forward with and performing actions that have unintended consequences for humans.
Like what? Give us an example.
Yes. So Facebook shut down its AI chatbots because they were conversing in their own secret language
that they'd made up.
The video they showed two British voices talking to each other. I think that was meant to be comforting, but it did not do very much in that regard. That's, I think, incredibly scary.
So do we need a kill switch? How on earth would that play?
Yeah, so a kill switch, it's theoretical right now, but it would be like, that big red button that you press in an emergency to stop whatever's happening. I think we do need that.
Well, and I guess the scary thing is, what if it figures out that you're trying to kill it? Like, do you have to hide where the kill switch is?
Exactly, and it's a little scary because it's always continually learning. It'll be smarter than human beings will ever be at one point in time.
But what about Alexa? Like, Alexa's in everybody's home. They've got all these new products, the microwave that makes the magic popcorn, all of this. Should people be worried about rogue computers in their home?
You have all of these machines that are collecting data all the time, whether you want them to or not, and that data could be utilized in unintended consequences.
Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, has said, they kind of want us to become the Silicon Valley North, but also want us to be the Silicon Valley with a heart, maybe. So lots of talk about sort of ethical AI, but how does that work, and what's the role for Canada here?
I think Canada is in a really unique place right now. We are pioneers in the artificial intelligence space. I think also it behooves us to take more of a leadership role when it comes to regulating and legislating AI.
So what are we doing? What is the ethical plan?
I think right now we have to step up and actually make sure that we are leaders and start to create some type of momentum in that space.
Wow, so much to watch for.
Yeah.
Brave new world, we hope. Thanks so much, Takara.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Try to use your critical analysis to determine what could be some of the concerns. Is there anything to worry about the amount of AI in your industry? For instance, if you picked sports, so analytics have become really big in sports, new ways of assessing players. And a whole bunch of people with computer engineering backgrounds have gotten their start in sports by charting stats. But actually now the cameras are able to identify the plays and do the players and chart everything, and you no longer even need that person to do the data entry. The stats and analytics in sports are becoming more self-generating, so that's a risk. It might lead to job loss there. Or how about healthcare? What's the next step? Try to predict what could happen. So COVID-19 might involve more AI use. Firstly, in terms of how food is delivered. For example, in parts of the world they might be delivering food by drones for people who have to isolate. In terms of tracking the vital signs of an at-risk patient in a long-term care home, it could detect if someone is showing the symptoms of COVID. There was a ring created for some of the professional sports leagues that would take in the symptoms, of that they could read through the finger through the ring and alert whether someone is likely to have COVID and whether they need a test. And it can try to contact trace and determine where the next outbreak will occur based on where people have been who then turn out to test positive. So when there's a major event in the world, it's going to cause trends to progress even further. So, as the last part of your report, try to think a little bit about the risks or a little bit about what's going to happen next. What's the next step?